supper?" asked the lion. The little rabbit said, "Carrot stew." That sounded awful to the lion. But the little rabbit said, "Yes, sir. My 5 fat sisters and 4 fat brothers are making a delicious big carrot stew right now." "What are we waiting for?" cried the lion, and he went hopping away with the little rabbit, thinking of 10 fat rabbits looking just as jolly as you please. "Well," grinned all the big animals, "that should take care of Tawny Scrawny for today." But before long, the lion began to wonder if they would ever get to the rabbit's house. First, the little fat rabbit kept skipping and stopping to pick up berries and mushrooms, all sorts of good-smelling herbs. And when the basket was full, what did he do but flop down on the riverbank? "Wait a bit," he said. "I want to catch a few fish for the stew." That was almost too much for the hungry lion. For a moment, he thought he would have to eat that one little rabbit then and there. But he kept saying, "5 fat sisters and 4 fat brothers," over and over to himself. And at last, the 2 were on their way again. "Here we are," said the rabbit, hopping around to turn with the lion close behind him. Sure enough, there was a little rabbit house with a big pot of carrot stew bubbling over an open fire. And sure enough, there were 9 more fat, merry little rabbits hopping around it. When they saw the fish, they popped them into the stew. Along with the mushrooms and herbs, the stew began to smell very good indeed.
Snap! Oh, don't snap. Push.
And when they saw the tawny, scrawny lion, they gave him a big bowl of hot stew, and then they hopped about so busily that really it would have been quite a job for that tired, hungry lion to catch one of them. So he gobbled his stew, but the rabbits filled his bowl again. When he had eaten all he could hold, they heaped his bowl with berries, and when the berries were gone, that tiny, scrawny lion wasn't hungry anymore. He felt so good and fat and comfortable, he couldn't even move. "Here's a fine thing," he said to himself. "All these fat little rabbits, and I haven't room inside for even one." He looked at all those fine, fat little rabbits and wished he'd get hungry again. "Mind if I stay a while?" he asked. "We wouldn't even hear of your going," said the rabbits. Then they plumped themselves down in the lion's lap and began to sing songs. And somehow, even when it was time to say goodnight, the lion wasn't one bit hungry. Home he went through the soft moonlight, singing softly to himself. He curled up in his bed, patted his sleek fat tummy, and smiled. When he woke up in the morning, it was Monday. "Time to chase monkeys," said the lion, but he wasn't one bit hungry for monkeys. What he wanted was some more of that tasty carrot stew. So off he went to visit the rabbits. On Tuesday, he didn't want kangaroos, and on Wednesday, he didn't want zebras. He wasn't hungry for bears on Thursday, or camels on Friday, or elephants on Saturday.
I want more baby.
All the big animals were so surprised and happy, they dressed in their best and went to see the fat little rabbit. "Rabbit," they said. "Oh, you wonderful rabbit! What in the world did you talk to the tawny, scrawny, hungry, terrible lion about?" The fat little rabbit jumped up in the air and said, "Oh my goodness! We had such a good time with that nice, jolly lion that I guess we forgot to talk about anything at all." And before the big animals could say one word,
What's that?
yeah, the tawny lion came skipping up the path. He had a basket of berries for the 5 fat rabbit sisters, and a string of fish for the fat rabbit brothers, and a big bunch of daisies for the fat rabbit himself. "I came for supper," he said, shaking his paws all around.
Take this, Mom.
Okay. Then he sat down in the soft grass, looking fat as butter, sleek as satin, and jolly as all get out, all ready for another good big supper of carrot stew. That's the end.